Man, sales is tough. I'm just not cut out to be a salesperson. Have you ever felt that way? Selling doesn't need to be so difficult. My name is Harry Spate. I'm here to serve and to help you succeed. Join me as we discuss sales made easy. All right, how are my good listeners for the Sales Made Easy podcast? Today we've got a special treat. There is a fellow, I know I say special treat a lot, but deal with it, okay? Because these guests are amazing. And today is no different. We've got a great guest who I actually met through our publisher, Motivation Champs, Dominic Damaski. He told me of this video shoot that he was doing, and he was turning Pittsburgh into Chicago. And the video was about this cool guy that goes by the also known as the Quadfather. And so, upon further investigation, I found out that the Quadfather is actually a quadriplegic who was injured, a regular, normal, everyday high school kid playing tackle football back in the late 1970s, like a lot of us guys do. And our parents told us, you're going to break your spine or something. And here is Brian, probably getting the same advice from his parents, and actually some fluke accident, fluke break, and that put him in a wheelchair. But that did not stop Brian. And what I love about his story is that he's gone on over the past 40 years or so to pursue what a lot of us only dream about. So we're going to talk about some of that. So Brian P. Swift, welcome to the Sales Made Easy podcast, sir.
Harry, thank you. Way too kind on your introduction. I appreciate it. And I've been blessed to be a part of some groups with you and Dominic. We're all kind of cut out of the same cloth, which is always fun and interesting and gives us an opportunity to learn and move ourselves forward.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you've got such a tremendous story, whereas a lot of, I mean, I can't imagine being 17 or 18 years old and looking at my life ahead of me and just saying, oh, please, God, take that moment back. Let me just do a do-over, something. So can I ask how you just turned that around from that age and some of the things that you pursued in life, so that if anyone's thinking of having an excuse for not doing something, it will be eliminated by the time they listen to what you went through?
Thank you. Thank you. Believe it or not, and I make this point because I believe it's relevant to how I moved forward. I never asked God to let me walk again or for a do-over. Believe it or not, I never have done that. I've just asked him for the strength to deal with whatever life throws at me. Mm-hmm. I get that from my mom. You know, my mom's probably driven my faith more than anybody in terms of things happen. We don't always know why. You just got to move forward. And that's the way I've approached this. So yes, I got hurt. Yes, I broke my neck. I went from 17 to a quad. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't move barely anything from my neck down. Over time, I pushed myself, not literally in the wheelchair, but I did do a lot of that, but pushed myself because I've got an old-fashioned dad and an old-fashioned mom that believe that I wasn't a statistic and that I could be better than those statistics in the late 70s. That being said, you know, I just kind of took the path that everybody took, right? I graduated from high school, so I had enough time in to graduate from high school. And then all my friends were going out to either work in the trades, which wasn't going to happen to me, mm-hmm. or to college. So I wasn't planning on college. I was planning on working in the trades. I have lots of my father's friends are in the trades. Well, that had to change, right? I was going to have to go to school. So I'm first generation college. So, I mean, I got out of school. I got out of the rehab center on a Friday, and I started back to school on a Monday. So there was no time for me to sit around and feel bad for myself. And then that summer, I started junior college. And 2 years later, I finished junior college. And in between, if I wasn't at school, I was exercising. and doing therapy. My friends would come over and work out with me. My friends would drag me over to somebody's pool and throw me in the water and watch me bob up and down, unbeknownst to my parents. But this is how I moved forward. And then after junior college, I went to a 4-year university. And 2 years after that, I graduated from the university. In the meantime, I learned how to drive. I dated, hung out with my friends, went and visited friends at college. And at the school I was at, this little old nun asked me what I was going to do with my life. And I probably didn't have a good answer. And she was like, "You're going to go to law school." And I chuckled because I was like, I'm not that smart. No, I'm like, I'm that guy that creates the upper 5% of a class because I bolster the bottom percent of that class. So if there was guys like me, there would be no upper 5% of the class. Some reason, some way, I decided, what do I got to lose? I'll take the LSAT. I took the LSAT twice. I got into a couple different law schools. 3.5 years later, I graduated from law school.
Amazing.
In the meantime, I meet a girl. We dated. I'm going to skip back. We've been married 33 years.
Oh, congratulations.
So we got married. I was only 27. She was only 21. I was working part-time at a law firm while I was finishing up school. And I worked at a law firm for a couple of years and got out of it. It wasn't me. And I, for whatever reason, went into sales. And I worked for a big company and I did well. And they asked me to come in and after 5 years and help run the training department and then I got my own crew to run. And, that developed. In the meantime, life moved forward for me. Every day I work out or do some form of therapy. We bought an old house that needed fixing up. And I just keep looking at what's in front of me. Like, what can we do next? How do I become a better sales professional? How do I become a better manager? How do I become a better husband? How do I become a better coach? How do I become, and people need to start spending more time focusing on them, not in a selfish way, but in a look in the mirror and we can say the world is horrible because of this or that. When I look in the mirror, I see myself staring at myself saying, how can you be better? Because I can control that, right?
Right.
I mean, I can control that. I mean, that's, I don't want to say easy. It's not easy. It's a job. And, we're here talking about sales ultimately. I sold myself on the fact that I wasn't going to be that statistic. I got to sell myself many days on the fact that I'm not that typical guy in a wheelchair, or I am as good as, remember your results, remember your accomplishments, remember your successes. If we're selling ourselves and that power of selling yourself is so important, because having that self-talk up here can make you or break you. So I a lot of talks that I do, because I do some speaking, is the power of positive self-talk. Mm-hmm. And if you're not talking to yourself in a positive way, man, it's hard to be successful or be as good as you can be. And you got to be realistic with yourself. Like sometimes I'll say, Swifty, you pig, you overate. What are you doing to yourselves? Now I got to work out extra hard. You don't need to be fat and in a wheelchair, but it's honest. I sat down and I ate like a lot. Okay, well, I got to work out extra hard tomorrow and watch what I eat. So I think being self-aware and then realizing the things we say to ourselves. So statistically, we have approximately 50,000 thoughts a day, believe it or not. Out of that, 80% of them are negative.
Why is that? That's crazy.
And out of that, we tend to repeat half of that negative. But you can rewire your thinking. Mm-hmm. So, and it was interesting, while I was still in corporate, I ran across, we had a president that really took that on, because we had a lot of people would say, oh, that sucks. And he got fed up with it. And He said, instead of saying that, why don't you say that's interesting? So it just resonated with me. And I've done it with my kids. Instead of saying that, say, that's interesting. Doesn't mean you have to like it, doesn't mean you have to agree. But it's amazing the stuff you say out loud, let alone the stuff you say in your head,
Right.
how it wires you. And
Yeah.
I have been wired in an optimistic, inspirational way. And I thank my parents, my sisters, my friends. I thank God, because I couldn't have accomplished all this without on my own.
Yeah.
No way,
So,
no how it would have happened on my own. So
yeah.
that's
Clearly amazing. I mean, all the different things that you're doing. So, a few different directions to go here, but you were talking about early on that you didn't consider yourself a salesperson now, but you've been in sales in the past. But so let me ask you, what is the difference from being in sales versus being an entrepreneur and not necessarily considering yourself a salesperson? What's the difference?
so when I think about being in sales, I think about all I did was try to sell.
Mm-hmm.
My job was strictly to sell. I sold yellow pages.
Oh,
That
okay.
was my job.
Yeah.
So when I look at and I know I've alluded to, I'm not in sales. As an entrepreneur, you are the salesman, you're the marketing man, you're the accountant, you're you name it, and that's who you are. You are everything. There is no getting out of anything. You are the chief cook and bottle washer, right?
Right.
So that is, and I apologize about that, Harry.
It's all right.
But you are everything. So when I look at that, I think, well, you're not in sales, but yet as an entrepreneur, you are a sales professional, and you are a marketing professional, and you have to be a accounting professional, right? You've got to be in everything. Just my luck. Never fails. But anyway, so as an entrepreneur, you've got to be an everything professional. So I don't just look at myself as a sales professional, because I wear those other hats now, because I'm just not selling. But as I said earlier, to some degree, you're always selling, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and so like a couple of things like I meant when I researched you a little bit. I've seen the nonprofit soar. I've seen Quadfather, and I see that you worked with another nonprofit. The name escapes me, but so all of that I mean, you have to reach out. You have to do outreach to people,
Exactly. And
right? That's
yes,
selling, and right in most of
exactly.
our viewpoint, right?
100%. I mean,
Yeah.
helping run a nonprofit, most of your goal is to raise money. And
Mm-hmm.
raising money is somewhat of you're selling your vision, you're selling your mission, you're selling your nonprofit organization. And fundraising is a blood sport these days. I mean, it's just a blood sport, and it's rewarding and it's taxing. But I got out of corporate so I could do some of these things. I got out of corporate
Mm-hmm.
so I could write some books. I got out of corporate so I could spend more time with my family. I got out of corporate so I could start a nonprofit. I got out of corporate for a lot of reasons. Even though I loved it and I was very good at it, I felt there were bigger callings than making a few dollars.
Right. Right. So you really live a life full of purpose. It sounds like.
I have been blessed to, yes.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things you mentioned earlier was about the negative self-talk, where we had, you know, 80% of the thoughts, whatever the number is, but it's a high number for whatever reason. Our mind drifts to the negative. It's like it's the path of least resistance for whatever reason. Can't figure it out psychologically, but it's the path of least resistance to go negative on ourselves. So in sales, we know that that's a problem, right? Is because we're going to say things like, well, nobody's interested. Today's Monday. People don't like to talk to salespeople on Monday. Tuesday is still too early in the week, and they'll come up with excuses. And Friday afternoon, between the hours of 2 and 2:20, we can make calls or something. So, when you're in sales or in sales mode today, how do you get past the negative self-talk?
Um, I go back to looking at my goals. I go back and I created a vision board where
Nice.
basically I have my goals in picture form. That's what a vision board ultimately is.
Yeah.
And a saying I use is people don't move forward until the pain of where they're at is greater than the pain of where they're going.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. Had to think through that one for a second,
No, but
right?
just
But yeah.
so me getting rejected on the phone and me getting told no, or me getting said no, I won't make an appointment, whatever that is, the pain of that, until that gets painful, I'm not going to take any action to move forward. So my action to move forward past that for me is going over my goals, looking at my vision board, and picking up maybe a book on sales, a book on development, a book on, whatever that may be. So I constantly read. I constantly bombard myself with music to just clear the brain, get out of the mode. And you have to know when you need to pull back away, because I don't believe, in sales, I used to tell people don't have a bad campaign. You don't have a bad 6 months. You might have a bad day. You might have 2 bad days, maybe 3 bad days. But ultimately, you've allowed 3 bad days to turn into a bad week, and a bad week to turn into a bad 3 weeks, and then 3 weeks turn into a month. Somewhere you didn't stop. What did you do to stop it? You haven't sold any new business. What are you doing? Well, I haven't had any luck. Then call more new business. I mean, I don't know. I'm a KISS guy. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
I think if you could keep life that way, and a lot of our solutions are KISS solutions. They're not difficult. It's just one, implementing it and staying consistent, which is difficult for any of us. So staying consistent is difficult. Setting goals, like I had a goal. I sold a lot of new business back in the day, and people, how do you do it? Well, one of my things was 9 by 9. I have to make 9 calls by 9 o'clock. If I didn't do that, if I could do that, I knew it would be a good day.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it would be an awesome day. I knew it would get my day started. And so that's.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
Just kind of like my little inside my mind things.
Yeah.
Then I hung it. And then when I became a manager, my thing with people was 9 by 9. Did you do your 9 by 9? No, I had to do some planning, and I had to do some this. No, 9 calls by 9 o'clock. And the interesting thing is the people that were successful found a way to do 9 by 9.
Yeah. It's really amazing because you're setting the day off with good habits,
100%.
right? And so that just leads to more good stuff versus waiting to get started. It reminds me of the swallowing the frog that Brian Tracy made famous, is to swallow that frog early to get the hardest part of the day done. And a lot of times, I mean, unless you're calling for a living, the most of us call periodically where we have to make outbound calls. And because we're not doing it on a consistent basis, then it becomes, we get rusty. We start overthinking. We start worrying about people hanging up on us or throwing us a curve, or we can't see their face, and all kinds of negative things that will prevent us from making the calls. So we can forget the 9 by 9 for 9 in 9 days, maybe.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, getting it started is a great thing. So tell me a little bit about this thing called the Quadfather. What is that all about?
So I have been in the wheelchair over 40 years, and in about the 40-year mark, I was in the entrepreneurial spirit, looking to like brand myself. Nobody knows Brian P. Swift. Nobody knows the Quadfather either. But I don't know how the name came about. And I'm like, after 40 years of being in the wheelchair and accomplishing these things, I'm kind of like the Quadfather, and I work a lot with people with disabilities. So I don't know, the Quadfather just came out of my mouth, and I'm like,
I love it.
that is what I'm going to brand myself as.
Yeah.
I am the Quadfather. So it started with, okay, that's kind of cool. What
Yeah.
about it? And that led to the book, The Quadfather.
And he's holding up the book, and it looks like The Godfather, except you're in a wheelchair all dressed up like you're the Godfather. It looks great.
So it led to a book, and basically what The Quadfather is about, especially since I deal with that person who has so many self-limiting beliefs, and they look at statistical information and they buy into it, is I wrote basically an unapologetic tough love book that tries to get it talks about all these excuses why I can't do this because I can't do that because I try to get people to stop wallowing in self-pity and adversity and try to take them into a stronger place, and show them that this is a journey. It's not a destination, it's a journey. Having a strong mind doesn't work on everything. I mean, even the strongest person has weak times, tough times, difficult times, but working through their hidden issues, making strategies for change for the better. And so I took it and I wrote a book on every excuse I heard from people in wheelchairs and answered their excuse in a very direct, tough love manner.
Okay.
So I catch a lot of grief because it's, one, I don't, people say you don't understand. My issues are different. And every situation is different. I get it. But the solutions, it's like people saying, well, we live in a different time now. Times have changed. Times are always changing. I mean, however, right and wrong isn't. That's not changing. What people do to be successful probably hasn't changed that much. Now, the way we do it has. I used to be on the phone all the time before technology. Well, now, if you're not on technology, you're probably not doing the right things. So, but putting in that kind of commitment, integrity, and positive attitude is what will make you successful. So I hit them with it, and I give it away free to people with disabilities. And I hope that they find some type of encouragement and understand there is a better tomorrow for you, but you're going to have to put in blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
I didn't make the rules. I just live by them.
Yeah, I mean, it requires effort in anything that we want. I mean, if it was easy, we'd all be super successful, right?
Exactly. And,
right.
I come from a background of, like, when I got home from the rehab, just to give you an idea, my parents were very old school. And I know that, what does that mean, old school? There wasn't a lot of sympathy. There wasn't a lot of, I knew my parents loved me, but it was like, it was the way our parents and grandparents were was different. Absolutely. In a sense that, I don't know, the expectation. Just to give you an idea, my dad, this is the best way to explain my dad, which I knew he had always been a supporter, but I was home from the hospital rehab after 3.5 months. I probably was having a bad day. I'm sure I was. And he walks into the kitchen and says, hey, if you're looking for sympathy, you could find it in the dictionary between shit and syphilis. So that was my dad's way of dealing with somebody that might have been complaining about something. You just what's your problem? Let's figure out how to get by it.
Yeah.
That was my dad. I mean, that was as much emotion as you got out of my dad.
Right. But yeah, we don't know what he was thinking inside, though, right? But
No,
he definitely kept the stoic look about him, and
100%.
Right. But I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we could talk philosophically, right? But I mean, when you mention old school, our parents, I mean, my parents were born before the Great Depression, right? I was, the last thing on my parents' mind was having another kid. So my parents were my friend's grandparents' age. I mean,
Yeah.
they were born post Depression. My parents were born pre Depression. So they recognized, some of the times in the 1920s, believe it, 100 years ago. I mean, if you can believe that. And then they lived through the Depression and World War II. I mean, those were tough times. And what happened with you in the late 70s, yeah, it was tough. But I mean, those people that survived the Depression and World War II were not exactly what we would call caterers to feelings, right?
No, they were not warm and fuzzy.
There was no warm and fuzzy about it. It's just like you don't know what we did. Yeah, so you got a problem going to be in a wheelchair. Well, try eating wood when you're hungry, right? Try eating leaves when you're hungry. So
Exactly.
I can see that being said by
living
my
with
parents.
living with your aunts and your uncles in one house because that's what families did to get by,
Yeah,
and growing your food and making the best out of potatoes, tomatoes, and whatever onions you could grow. And yes, they lived through something that people won't understand, but you can't empathize with it. And I
yeah,
do understand why they were that way. And I don't know, so my dad always had empathy, but that's the way he came off. My mom had
sure.
probably a little more sympathy,
Yeah.
but she knew that she had to be tough on me. Like there was no sitting around. There was no
Hmm.
feeling bad for myself. I mean, there just wasn't. It wasn't going to happen in my house.
Right.
That's what helped me move forward. Plus, I mean, I guess I didn't want to be that guy either because as much as you want something, Harry, you can't make somebody else want it like you want it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, talk to us about that, Brian, because that's just such a great point.
Well,
As much as you want something, you can't make that same desire for someone else. So, can
so
you
let's
elaborate on that?
sure, let's take it into the sales realm, right? As much as somebody would like to be an awesome sales professional, and it doesn't matter what they're selling. Saying I want to be an awesome sales professional is one thing. I may know this person and say, listen, Tom, I can help you. This is what you need to do. This is what will help you. Oh, I get it. Okay, yeah, no problem. And then you reach back out in a week and it's like, did you get the book? No. Hey, did you write those goals down that we were supposed to
Right.
talk with? No. All right, I'm good. I was busy. And then you start to realize, well, now you realize why they're not a great sales professional because a week later, they're still halfway through their goals. They haven't bought the book. And God, Tom, you would be a great sales professional. You will do
Right.
great if you just change a few things. You need to change, this, which being great at anything is a journey. It's not like you get there and you stop. You're either growing or dying in life. It's that simple. That's
Yeah.
one or the other. And if you're not constantly growing, then you are dying. And that's why I still read, I still grow. I know just look at things this way. You don't know what you don't know. That's your whole life. And I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah.
I want to reach out and try to find out what I don't know to be a better speaker, to be a better writer, to be a better father, to be a better husband, to be a better Christian, to be a better whatever. If you don't have that desire to be better, the lip service of I want to, just doesn't get you anywhere.
Right. Yeah. It doesn't do much.
So I
So, yeah. Okay.
no,
You go.
a quick example. I go into schools and I do a DAD program, Disability Awareness Day. And somewhere at the beginning, I I reach over and say, I found $20 coming into school today. So it's kind of neat. I don't know if anybody lost it. Nobody usually says anything because it's not true. I had it on me.
Yeah.
And I say, it was awesome. I go, come on, who wouldn't like $20? And everybody's like, oh, I would. I go, no, honestly, who wants $20? Who wants this? It's like anything. Who wants to be a great student? Oh, yeah. Who wants to be a great athlete? I do. Who wants to be the best? Who wants it? And I just sit there with it. And I go, obviously, nobody wants it because all I hear is people talking. And I just do this until finally somebody jumps out of their seat, comes up and grabs it out of my hand. I go, that's somebody who wants it bad enough. They took action.
Right.
Talking about it just isn't enough. If you're not taking action, you're not doing enough.
Yeah, totally agree. So right now I'm reaching my hand through my monitor and I'm grabbing at a $20 bill that Brian is holding up, and I'm just not able to grab hold of it.
Right.
So, it's good stuff. So what is it you're doing these days? Are you coaching? Because I saw something about the John Maxwell training in the past. So how are you earning a living? What's
Sure.
going on in that side of the world?
Nickels and dimes. I play small ball. So I do I am a certified John Maxwell coach and speaker.
Okay.
Obviously, COVID killed much of the speaking world. So that hasn't happened in years. Although I just 3 weeks ago had a little speaking gig, which was nice. So I do
Good.
some speaking and I do some coaching. I
Okay.
also have written 5 books and I sell my books. That also kind of helps with the coaching and with staying inspirational and trying to provide hope. I volunteer my time for a nonprofit called SOAR, Swift Outdoor Accessible Recreation. What we do is help people with disabilities get back outdoors. So I do all their fundraising and whatnot, a myriad of things to help them. And I spend a lot of time with that. And I don't get paid. I volunteer for that. So it's really through sales of my books, speaking, coaching, and not that I'm killing it on those areas, but it's growing. So
Yeah. Well, I've met you actually on Clubhouse.
yes,
So,
sir.
what's your thought about Clubhouse for those who may not know it that well?
You know what? I like Clubhouse. I think it's interesting. How long will it last? I mean, technology is constantly moving forward. What I like about it, I guess, is to talk live today, right now, with people. And because you could find any topic from A to Z and then some, uh, I think it's finding the right room and why are you going? Like, what is your purpose to be on there? Are you just trying to kill time, or do you want to interact with people like Harry that are going to bring content to the table that make me better?
Yeah, likewise. Yeah.
So that's one. We do joke around, we do have some fun, Casey. But bottom line is, I've been in rooms and I've left them because, like, I'm not there for that lack of content or just that topic because it's too volatile, or I'm just not. I don't have time. If I'm going to be in a room, it's going to be you, Dominic, whoever that I'm going to be in, that kind of helps us move forward, gives us ideas, gives us that checkup from the neck up, and provides content that makes me better. So,
Yeah, I love it. So, the next step for the Quadfather, where is that? Where do you see that leading?
so Dominic Damaski,
I
obviously,
do.
and him and I took the book and we wrote a screenplay together. And we
That's
are
awesome.
trying to push the screenplay into a movie. That is a world way out of our lane that either of us, So, but I'm okay because I will put my turn signal on and cross 3 lanes if I have to get there if I need to. So I'm okay with that. And Dominic's very similar, turn the signal on, move over because Quadfather's coming through. So we're just trying to, we're trying to understand that world and push our screenplay. And personally, I told Dominic helped me with the Quadfather. I want to do a comic about the Quadfather. I want him to be a comic book character. Dominic said, that's too small. Let's make it a movie. So we went with the screenplay. I still am chasing around possibly doing comic. So that's where we're at with that. And it's been fun. It's frustrating. It's, because, we know so little. There's another one of those things. Once you start to read and learn something, you realize you don't know what you don't know and how little you know. But you got to be okay with that, because at least you're growing, right? I'm growing. I know more now than I did a week ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just love the fact that you especially, where you're just throwing yourself out there saying, I know squad doodle about this, but here I am.
Right.
And, you're writing a screenplay. I mean, who does that? Right?
Yeah, Dominic and
Yeah.
we learned. Neither of us, we never done it. So
Yeah.
you know what? You Google it, or
Of course.
25 years ago,
YouTube.
you got those 24 volumes of Britannica Encyclopedia, and you figured it out in 24 volumes of encyclopedia that you had. Nowadays, there's no excuse for people. Zero excuses.
All right. For anyone younger than the age of 40, you're going to have to Google encyclopedia.
Yes,
And it's
thank you.
spelled funny.
You are correct.
Right. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, you're bringing back memories. So, Brian, this is a great conversation. I love your energy. Super positive. Make no excuses. A little bit of tough love, which I'm sure goes over real well with everybody today in our soft society. But hey, people, we all have an audience, and I know you're finding yours. What would your final words be for our audience who are entrepreneurs mostly who want to be better in sales? What advice would you give them?
Stay consistent, keep learning, don't be afraid of no. I've been told no millions of times, whether it be in a bar asking a girl to dance or being somewhere else. Okay, somebody's Harry, you've heard no. Have you been physically scarred by somebody saying no, or mentally scarred?
A
No.
little.
Yeah, well, maybe a little mentally. We all are. I got turned down 17 times one night asking girls to dance. And after about 7, it became a game.
Yeah.
I want to see how many will say no.
Right.
So
Okay. So now I've got the mental picture. So you move around in a wheelchair and with the rhythm. I mean, so how does that work?
or yeah, or you can sit on my lap. We can dance to a slow song. I
Okay.
am a giver. If you need a place to sit, my lap is comfortable from what I've heard. For some people, not everybody.
All right. I had to ask. I had to ask. Never mind.
Yeah.
Good
But no,
stuff. So
stay consistent, keep
yeah.
learning, set goals, and monitor the way you talk to yourself. Think about the things you say, write them down, and try to turn some of those negative thoughts into positive thoughts.
I love it. So Brian P. Swift, where can people find more about you and your positive energy and the Quadfather? Where do they go, sir?
Sure. So I have a website called brianpswift.com. Not hard, the name BRIAN, middle initial P, Swift.com. They can go to the nonprofit called Swift Outdoor Accessible Recreation, or SOAR is the acronym for it. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I do a podcast called the Positive Perspective Podcast. And I also have a YouTube channel called the Quadfather, where I do a lot of exercise and sports and activities to show people that you can get out and do whatever you want to do. I have different things on that, just over 100 videos. So
Love it. So, Brian, you're clearly making a difference in the world. You're awesome. Keep up the great work, and hopefully, more from this group of the Sales Made Easy listeners will find you. Loved what you said today and brought to us. So, keep it up, and we look forward to seeing more of you on Clubhouse and elsewhere, sir.
Harry, thank you for the opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know next time, I know we probably strayed a lot from sales, but I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about my background and history. And I would love to, I'd love to come on again and we could go strictly sales, and I could provide maybe some content that's less funny and more helpful. I don't know.
All right. So, just a quick note for all of those who are listening, selling is listening. Right? So get the client prospect talking about them and you will get more sales. So that's kind of what I do. And, you're fascinating, and maybe you'll buy from me someday. I'm not sure.
Oh,
good chat though.
Harry, thank you. God bless. Have a great day.
All right. Likewise, my friend.
Take care.
Man, sales is tough. I'm just not cut out to be a salesperson. Have you ever felt that way? Selling doesn't need to be so difficult. My name is Harry Spate. I'm here to serve and to help you succeed. Join me as we discuss sales made easy.